News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Rix. And that's your closing bell on Wall Street. The Dow adding 663 points today, up 1.4%. The NASDAQ up 153. That's about 0.75%. The S&P also added 60 points, up 0.9%. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4%. The 2-year yield at 3.46%. The race to replace Fed Chair Jerome Powell next year is heating up, with White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett now emerging as a frontrunner. Bloomberg's Nancy Cook gave us some insight today and says President Trump has been pretty high on Hassett since June.
I mean, the thing is that he has a good rapport with the president. They have a long-standing relationship. You remember that he served on the president's Council of Economic Advisors in the first term. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was going down to Palm Beach during the transition, I ran into him on a plane once. You know, he was in and out of Mar-a-Lago a lot then. He is someone that the president calls on the phone to speak about economic policy with. And over Kevin Warsh, he has the added benefit of proximity to Trump. He is the head of the National Economic Council, and he's in the West Wing every day.
Nancy Cook on the Bloomberg Balance of Power podcast. Bloomberg's Enda Curran tells us the next Fed chair, including Hassett, would also have a lot of power. But it really depends on how the economy's doing.
If we're in an economy where, for example, inflation does continue to head back towards the Fed's 2% target, and let's say the labour market is softening, then of course the Fed will have an opening to bring down borrowing costs. But if it's the opposite and inflation remains persistent and not continuing to move higher, then that will make that job very tricky indeed. So while there's scope for significant influence for the next Fed chair, the economy will also dictate where policy goes.
Hassett is said to be one of 5 top candidates going through second-round interviews today with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And Bessent has said President Trump could reveal his pick by December 25th. Meantime, Bloomberg is now learning U.S. presidential envoy Steve Witkoff, who's fresh from negotiating a Gaza peace deal, held a phone call last month with a senior Kremlin official to suggest they work together on a similar plan for Ukraine. Witkoff even suggested Russia's President Vladimir Putin should raise it with President Trump. Bloomberg obtained a transcript of their phone call, which lasted a little over 5 minutes, and it shows Witkoff advised Putin's top foreign policy aide on how the Russian leader should broach the issue with Trump. Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan reports that later turned into a 28-point plan that the U.S. presented to both sides over the weekend.
Once in Geneva, they tried to narrow the differences with the Ukrainian side, with both sides signaling that there could be progress. But that leaves open the question, how much did this deviate from the original 28-point plan, and will Russian support still be there? Russian officials have cautioned that they have not seen the revised proposals, that they're waiting to see those. But they have signaled that if it deviates too far, that could risk their support going forward. So a lot of questions remain as the talks are ongoing, both with the Russian side and the Ukrainian side on these proposals.
That's Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan. A new battle for AI supremacy may be brewing now between NVIDIA and Alphabet's Google. Bloomberg's Dan Curtis has details.
The information has reported that Meta is in talks to spend billions of dollars on Google's TPUs, a specialized chip used for AI computing. Meta is said to be talking about renting the chips next year, putting them in data centers in 2027.
A deal would help cement TPUs as an alternative to NVIDIA chips, which are considered the gold standards by a company like Meta and OpenAI. Google's stock climbed today, up 1.5%, but the news took a big toll on NVIDIA. Its shares fell 2.6% today. Shares of chip rival Advanced Micro Devices were also down 4.1%. Consumer confidence slid in November by the most in 7 months on growing anxiety about higher costs and sluggish job gains. U.S. retail sales also rose modestly in September, suggesting some consumers hit pause after several months of robust spending. We also got a mixed bag of retail forecasts. Kohl's, Best Buy, and Dick's Sporting Goods all raised their full-year outlooks. Kohl's for the second quarter in a row, a sign that the struggling discount chain is turning things around. Its share skyrocketed 43% today. Shares of Warner Brothers were also up about 0.6% after asking potential buyers today to submit new sweetened offers. The company got first-round bids last week and now wants improved offers by December 1st. Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix are all vying to buy some or all of Warner Brothers. And a little foul play today at the White House.
You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
President Trump pardoning 2 turkeys, Waddle and Gobble, who are now officially spared from the Thanksgiving dinner table. The turkeys will live out the rest of their lives at an agricultural center at NC State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Rix, and this is Bloomberg.